Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Mayorga, and I am back. And I did another little video yesterday, and I talked about several things. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was not so much retirement, but what do we do when we lose our job or are forced into retirement before we're ready? And I think I shared a little bit that the last couple of months my life has gone through a little bit of a change. I've been a counselor educator and a licensed professional counselor for many years, and so that has been my career. And a couple of months ago, I unfortunately the place where I was working went through a reorganization, realignment, and as a faculty, my position was eliminated. And so I was forced into no longer having a job. And some people might call it forced retirement or that you had to retire. Personally, myself, I call it elimination of a job, and the job is no longer there, and they don't have a position for you. Well, you've lost your job. And it was a very big shock for me. And and this was about 6 months ago, and I'm now just beginning to want to talk about it because it was a shock. And after being in that profession for so many years in higher academics, and doing that and seeing that as my career to going to not having a career from one moment to the next has been very difficult for me. And I'm a counselor. I talk with people about things like that. But when it happens personally, it becomes difficult. And so I wanted to share what what are the stages that we go through, because and I've shared this with others, when we lose a job, it is a loss, and a loss does have stages that it needs to go through. And believe it or not, I've gone through all the stages. And I if you might remember or not, many years ago, I have a nursing background, and so I worked as a surgical nurse for 14 years with an ear, nose, and throat specialist in another town. And I also decided in that particular position, I decided to leave because I was burned out. From what you've heard in my videos, I'm what you would call, I'm not a personality, but I have a lot of those characteristics. And then I give everything 150%. That's just the kind of person I am. That particular job, that had become my identity. I was younger. I did have children. I did have a family. I was married, but that job was a huge part of who I was. So when I decided to leave that position, I did go through a identity crisis in the sense of who was I now, and you lose your identity. I had always been uh, a nurse, because I compartmentalize. I'm a nurse. I'm a counselor educator. I'm a therapist. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. And everything just doesn't roll in together. It's little compartments, and so whatever happens here, I try not to let it interfere here, but sometimes it does overlap. So in that particular time, my identity was gone, and so when I took a big dip in reference to that, I actually found a job that wasn't in nursing. I was a receptionist. I needed a break. But that was at that time. This time, having been, in essence, told that there was no longer going to be a position for me, there was really nothing I could do. I'd spent 20 years doing that, gone to school, gotten my PhD, thought I would be doing that for a long period of time, and longer than what I had already done. And so being told that I could no longer do that at that particular place, um, I have been going through what I call that grief process, or these different stages of loss, because my job did mean a lot to me. I identified, and one of the things that has been difficult for me is to even let other people know that I'm no longer going to be a professor unless I get another job at another university. But I don't see that happening. So now I've got to determine, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Because I certainly have another phase of my life, but I've had a difficult time determining what that's going to be. And as you've heard some of my videos, I am a woman of faith, and so waiting to hear from my higher up power as to what I need to do next has been very difficult. Because normally I look at myself as a problem solver. Let's look for a solution. But this has been difficult. So I'm not going to go into details. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do another little video, and I'm going to talk about the stages that we go through when we lose our employment, or what has been part of our lives for a long period of time. I do remember that my husband worked for the railroad for 33 years. And I remember when he decided that he was ready for retirement. And there's a difference when we decide that we're ready for retirement, or that we no longer want to be working, to when you're told that you no longer have a job. But believe it or not, even when we make a decision to retire or no longer work because we think, we're ready, and, we've got our finances in order and things like that, we still go through those stages of no longer having that identity of what we were doing. So just a little preparation of a video of what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. And I will be speaking about each of the stages, because all of us go through it. I don't care if you are financially prepared and ready to take a break, and ready to retire, or ready to no longer work and you go travel, stuff like that. And we still will go through those stages, because it is a huge part of who we are, what we've identified with. And it does create a plethora of emotions that we need to know how to cope with and how to handle, so that then we can reach the other side and continue to live our lives to the fullest as we go down this path until the end of our lives. So thank you so much for listening and reviewing my videos. I appreciate that. And if you like my videos, please click on that little button that says so, and I will look for my continuation of this topic in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.